Dude, we can't have that on the actual podcast, bro. Anyways, Driveline, research and drinks, or shit.
Yeah, no, I think it's got to be like, yeah. It's got to be more clear and just hit hard and quick with like the opener. Just like, this is the Driveline R&D podcast.
Are we counting this as opener?
Yeah, so you would just like come in as like, this is the Driveline R&D podcast, research and drinks. I'm Anthony Brady, drinking a Aslan Brewing Batch 15 Indian Pale Ale today.
What's up? It's your boy, BOK, Kyle Lindley, drinking a Moorish IPA from Rubens.
It's actually pronounced more fish.
Yeah.
And I'm Alex Caravan, drinking a Rainier.
Yeah, this is a Driveline R&D podcast. We're just talking about research, stuff going on in R&D, specifically Driveline, and having some drinks over it. So, biggest news as of late for R&D is acquisitions.
Plyo balls, okay, yeah.
Plyo balls, yeah. I think those have been around for a while. I don't know if that's the biggest news. Acquisition of Motus might be bigger news.
And what is an acronym for? Quick.
A mother of throwing.
Let's keep it appropriate.
Mother of throwing under stress.
Dude, I honestly didn't think he was going to get it. He got it.
There's no way it's an acronym for that.
No, it's not. No, I just came up with that, dude.
Do you know what that like name derives from? Like,
no, but I've typed in Motus in the
mother of throwing of stress.
Throwing under stress. No, but I've Googled Motus and like some other like company comes up every time. Motus Global is the URL. Like that's an area of opportunity there. We need to get our
acronym. Yeah, we're big on acronyms.
No, we just need to get our Google search. We need to market that shit. So we're the first hit when somebody types in Motus. We want Motus Global, M Throw, M Baseball, M Stress.
Is it even called the M Throw anymore?
I think it's Motus Baseball and then Motus Throw and Motus One. Yeah. Or I think Motus One is separate, but Motus Throw I think is the
Motus
baseball thing.
Yeah, so Driveline acquired Motus this week, which is pretty cool for a lot of reasons.
Yeah,
like,
I was say.
Honestly, like pretty fired from like a whole company perspective. Like I'm sure everyone on the floor, especially on the business side, is super fired up. But I've got to say, like R&D wins the most in this deal. Like our department specifically, like we're going to be able to do so much with Motus. Mm-hmm. And just like fortifies us like directionally where we're going, integrating technologies, using sensors.
I honestly think that the throwing floor like responded really like a lot stronger than I thought they were going to. Like Devin seems super fired up and like some of the other guys just like seem like they're really ready to start like trying to integrate it, which I didn't realize was a thing they were interested in before, but yeah, I feel like they've been.
Yeah, I think it opens up a lot of opportunities for like all the departments. Obviously, it'll be interesting on the hitting side, what we can kind of do with that. But definitely on the pitching side, there's a lot we can do there, and super exciting. Just the idea or potential of like building out pipelines and finding out like what signals from the biomech lab will map over to kind of what we can collect with the sensor, and then taking sensor data, mapping that towards like pitch tracking technologies, and then like we're like trying to measure workloads and stress without even wearing the sensor in sleeve, so I think like there's just like so much that people don't realize. People might not have realized that Motus was like already doing, and like in the process of building out that. We can just take and run with our like ability to apply. I think that's just where we're going to excel more.
Yeah, it's like an affordable microcosm of our biomech lab in certain ways. And I know we've already started doing it, but like we can talk about how the first couple steps are basically we've already done a Motus validation study where we've like asserted that the values are reliable, they correspond directionally with our own biomech lab, but just even having like multiple Motus paired throws of our biomech lab in different environments will let us know like, okay, like in this situation, we can extrapolate this kind of value from the Motus figures and then like, going forward, maybe have it like enable that remote training. Because I mean, Driveline is like a mecca of, you go there, you're integrated, everything gets tracked, so forth. Then, because of logistics, money, time, whatever, you got to leave. And then the remote training is pretty much as good as you make it as an athlete. Because whatever you give us, that's the only thing we can act on. So I think like Motus especially is exciting from that point of view of bringing up the remote training quality as high as possible.
They're incorporating actual more objective data.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the only objective data that we get from remote training is radar gun. It's like the rest of it's just video.
Yeah, we're just getting more data points. We're just getting like the data points we're getting is getting so much more granular, so much more robust. Like, and again, I think like the applications as far as like integrating it with other technologies and just being able to like collect like a whole bunch of stuff initially with like a really intense initial assessment, and then find out where that like signal maps into other like less intensive technologies. Because like the cool thing with something like that is you can get in-game data without even having to wear the sleeve, right? If you can find where like workloads or intensities are pairing with like Rapsodo data, TrackMan, Acrotech, any type of pitch tracking technology, whatever it is, then you can start to monitor that like in-game stuff, to a decent extent, right? Like it's not going to be like, you have to have like a Kinetrax or some sort of markerless biomech lab on the field. But I mean, for, a lower budget, cost-effective option, you're talking about like, pretty decent biomechanical workload monitoring.
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting things also for Motus is it's already like a very good product in our minds and a lot of other people's minds. But there is definitely like room for improvement, which we've like talked about with the current like Motus guys who kind of acquired and have taken us through. Like there's definitely some low-hanging fruit for our own research, and like maybe dictating like certain algorithms that spit out like metrics for Motus. It's like it's really exciting, honestly. Like I know I was on a phone call with you guys, or a Zoom call. Shout out Zoom video meetings. But
not a sponsor, but if you want to be,
because we might in the future do this all through Zoom. But I think I'm really excited about like having the opportunity to fiddle with it, and knowing that there's like no urgency right away because it's already in a good spot.
Yeah, it really is like a perfect marriage, because like I think that is. Not that Motus was necessarily going down this route, but that is the like downfall or potentially like a big issue that a lot of these like technology companies run into, is they're so removed from baseball. Yeah. Right? Like they think that they're solving a problem and they build a product, but they can't like have an environment to actually like test it and see what it's like to deploy it. And like we can just do that, right? Yeah. So now we have a great technology company that's established itself, and we can put it in the environment of like actual development in real time, like live, and see, like, okay, what works, what doesn't, because like, I mean, even internally, like our software developers and stuff are sometimes, like removed from it. And it's really hard to like sit behind a desk and know what needs to be happening on the training floor. Right. So like, fortunately we have that environment and can do that. Yeah. So I think it's like super exciting, and like the research potential as well. Obviously like full on biomechanics, motion capture research is hard, very, very time intensive. Yeah. A lot more time intensive than potentially like, some like Motus related studies. So could be big there.
How have you been setting up the, because I know I was on Basecamp. You've been, how have you been setting up the Motus validation throws?
So the first like thing we're going to do is basically repeat what we did with the first validation study, but like with more subjects, a little bit less replication within subjects, but,
what do you mean by that?
Like less, for the first study, we did 5 fastballs, I think, and 5
like breaking balls. Yeah.
And then we only did 10 subjects, I believe. And then, so this one, we're just going to get like 30 subjects. 30 seems to be the mark that we usually try to grab for most of our studies because it's a pretty reasonable number, but also like good enough sample.
Yeah.
Going to shoot for 3 throws. Basically, just like during the assessment, we'll also collect Motus data, so we'll have paired throws, and then make that comparison then. And then after that, we're going to hopefully do a weighted ball comparison to see like how Motus, or how the values for Motus and their measurements compare to our measurements when a weighted ball overload or underload is in a pitcher's hand. And then the next thing is, which is super exciting and I don't think as well researched, is intent level. So like measuring intent level by both perceived exertion and by like targeting a velocity and seeing how that changes for both motion capture and Motus values. So.
Specifically on that, I know I've seen like multiple studies where, you know, perceived intent is much different than actual like proportion of max velocity. You know, like someone will be told to throw at 60%, and then that's usually much higher than 60% or their average velocity or the average stress or peak stress, I should say. So I think that'll work out really well. I was gonna add one more thing is so like maybe like most like some people are not unaware talking about like the Motus variables. They measure arm slot, arm stress in like 2 different metrics, arm speed, velocity, and then shoulder external rotation, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that it? Yep.
Yeah.
I think so. There's like 4 main ones that are provided live, and then like so those ones, and then also the like workload or the 2 big like categories of measurements. The thing what's really exciting about you were just talking about the intent levels, like people's like intent levels don't really match up with like what kind of stress they're actually putting on their body.
Yeah.
Like that's, in my opinion, one of the like better applications for Motus actually. Because you could just gauge how hard you're trying or how much like effort you're putting your body through.
Yeah.
If you're monitoring it.
Yeah, I think actually like even going further than that, the application one step further of like you could use it during a session to monitor, but say you break from your like day plan and you go too hard and like your workload's too high, with like the Dash integration with track stuff, like automating that out to where like if you have a hybrid B day and you go way too ham, it turns into like basically a hybrid A. Like the sensor will be able to tell that, right? And then it could potentially configure like the rest of your weeks of workouts, you know, around like AC ratios and all of that, like automatically, which I think would be like just super exciting because you're taking it out of like, you know, that potential for when you just have that workout. If you go outside the lines of that, there's really not many fail safes outside of like a training floor like member like watching you like a hawk to make sure you don't like blow it out, you know.
And for me, like a grandiose project that I know I've talked to you about is kind of constructing our own sort of like fatigue units or AC ratio for track workouts, which are very, very hard to do because we rely on people inputting the accurate amount of like things
wellness
they did.
Questionnaires.
Or like depending on like the actual athlete, normalization, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, and again, it's a little grandiose, but if we can leverage Motus enough to get averages like of arm stress per like common track workout, we can really kind of like actually give something quantifiable, like have an idea what a mound blend B looks like for certain athletes. Or it's like, okay, mound blend B usually is this, but when your mound blend B is that close to like a mound feel, that means you're like, you know, overworking, and then those people will like fall into this bucket. So I think, again, like a little bit grandiose, but I think it really does let us like, gives an opportunity to kind of redefine our whole programming around like actual numbers rather than like, well, he seemed flared up, you know.
Dude, you could even go even more grandiose than that and like, imagine something to where it's built out with like the biomech lab and the Motus sensor, and then also now you have like a lower cost like radar gun, like a pocket radar or something, monitoring like every throw and automatically uploading those, you know, like throw by throw. Like if you're an athlete, you could just like change the throw, like the ball type, and then that records the velocity, and then it's like taking the velocity from that, the ball type to throw of the day, backtracking to your like predetermined like Motus and Biomech lab capture. I mean, that's like the mega grandiose of like, you're talking every single throw is monitoring and tying back to some workload, and then like updating and iterating on like future workload or workouts and programming. I mean,
I think the overload underload stuff though, it could be one of the low hanging fruits that we could improve with Motus. I think if like from the phone call we had last Friday, that could definitely be an area where we kind of devote more research to, because I know Motus has way more experience with like a standard 5-ounce ball.
Yeah.
So that could definitely shed, because we do have there's been studies out there, but there is a general train of thought that the overload actually like lowers stress.
Yeah.
So I think that's still like, not necessarily like every baseball coach or player would like instinctively say that.
Yeah.
And then we could potentially tie that down with like quantitative feedback from the Motus to
with completing these other studies that we're wrapping up with the leather weighted balls and the plyo balls. We'll be able to, that's just like we'll pretty easily like tie in.
We'll give the viewers some like a couple teasers.
Well, weighted ball velo, measuring differences in mechanics and kinematics for like different weights of leather baseballs. So I think
like 9 ounce,
3 ounce to 7 ounce.
Oh, okay.
So 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
And then the plyo ball study is going to be all of the colors except for black. So I think it's 1,000 kilograms.
450.
1,000 kilograms?
So, sorry, 1,000 grams.
Yo!
That is overload.
Yo, peak stress would be really low, though.
Yeah, low stress. You wouldn't be able to move it.
Yeah. Joe, insert clip of Joe pulling down kettlebell. Just so all the plyo balls, seeing the kinematic difference between those. So if we know the differences in kinematics from weighted balls, then we can like start to use those like findings and infer differences in stress from what's measured by Motus.
It's all just like, man, just like getting so many more data points across all of that, and then just like leveraging that into like just super objective training and like programming and everything. And like
I thought that had
to be huge wins for the athletes.
Which I don't know like if we've thought about this or like
fresh material.
Like why? I mentioned it earlier to you, but why, if this is something that we're like actively avoiding, but using the mobile lab in the gym, but like on the plyo wall, because we can move it around. So like, there's no reason we wouldn't be able to like measure somebody's kinematics in their actual workout. Yeah, I mean they'll have to be marked.
I think it's a manpower.
I think it's primarily just bandwidth and like other stuff right now.
But as far as like a targeted study, I feel like that would be a decent like summer project when we have athletes.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be interesting. And it's just tough. It's always, I think like, it's like great to get into those, but it's always tough because it's just like you're opening up a completely new movement and like we're not sure what we're looking at, like, I mean, it took us quite a while to get like our feet under ourselves with just like, what is pitching on a mound in terms of biomechanics, and it would just like be a while. I think it'd just take a bit to be like, okay, what does a pivot pickoff look like on flat ground? Like
green ball.
It's just like so much harder to understand. And like we also had help with pitching on like all of the previous work done and like ASMI and all the other labs that have been doing like biomechanics and pitching work. Like we're talking about just open up a whole entire new biomechanics field.
Potentially, potentially another drawback to that would be applicability, because then if we do have an idea of like, what your metrics should look like on a green ball pivot pickoff, then it's like, okay, so we're telling like now to follow like now to get like more info from Driveline, you have to have an athlete have already like correct form, like teach them how to do a pivot pickoff, have a green plyo ball, have a biomech lab that records like him or her doing that. Whereas like pitching off a mound is like you can do that more easily. And
also, I feel like there's so many variations in the like Driveline and all the drills is like very present in like most of baseball, but like you could go to just like random D2 baseball game, and someone probably has bio balls there, and they're probably doing drills, but like they're probably doing a different iteration or variation of a pivot pick or a roll-in or something, and so I wonder what kind of like implications or issues there might be for like something like that.
I was mostly that thought was kind of in response to somebody bringing up the Jaggers did an investigation about distance from the wall. Like
I remember that. Yeah.
So like if we like change like saw if there was any kinematic change. So it wasn't like geared around. The thought wasn't like about for the drills. It was more.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm super into it. I think it'll get a lot easier too at the new facility. More space, more wall. Because like the research lab will have a huge wall that we could work with. We just like mocap everyone, but also. Like, again, that's why Motus is so exciting because it could potentially eliminate the need for that, right? Yeah. Like, we're making this move off of like, we need sub-millimeter accuracy and 15 mocap cameras, 48 markers, all this stuff. It's like, if we can get the job done with sensors and cameras, it's just like so much cheaper and easier to use. And like in a live setting, so much like less intrusive on the people. Like, yeah, it could unlock a lot of doors and be pretty fire. Yeah, make research a lot easier too.
I mean, even from like a versatility point of view, like actually having hardware out there that we can like use to tie into our own research, like direct research, kind of. Yeah, I think so valuable.
Yeah, and have confidence in like putting that out to people. Yeah, because it creates a lot of opportunities for like the low budget baseball market and all those people. Like if you're just a dad with an 11-year-old that wants to start doing whatever he can, like monitor workload, like great
if you're a Devin Morgan
if you're a Devin Morgan fan following everything he's doing with like youth baseball, it could just be like pretty fire to open up a lot of doors there. Make it a lot easier. What else were we going to talk about on this first one?
Just general like research studies we have going on and potential complications, non-complications.
Oh yeah. I wrote down research sucks. And Motus is hopefully going to make that easier, but just like in general, research typically sucks and is like very easily seen optimistically from like an outsider's perspective of just like, oh, why don't you just do this? Like why don't you just like look at this? It's like really hard and also just takes so much time and work, and like research is very slow.
And I think like a lot of things people don't realize is we have to throw out a lot of data. Like from a data collection point of view, maybe it wasn't collected appropriately. Maybe the technology was not calibrated. Potentially it could take away from someone's actual training programming, which is something we never want to do. Yeah. So we have to like fit it in around like a perfect schedule and like someone's ability to actually like provide valuable data. Yeah.
It also just doesn't like tangibly net you anything.
Yeah. The payoff is like
that's like it's really easy to just be like, this isn't really like a priority or anything. Like I'm just like not really worried about this. Like
as opposed to the
even specifically like the K-Vest and Blast stuff. Like that study that we're still in the process of doing.
Studies.
Like, 2 separate studies.
Don't undersell, bro.
Trying to validate K-Vest and Blast to our motion capture lab. You have to have 3 separate technologies working together at the same time. And like a swing has to happen, and it has to be a good capture on K-Vest, a good capture on Blast, and a good capture in the mocap lab. Then you also have to go and clean and process all the mocap data, pair it with the Blast and K-Vest data, and then do that like 300 times. You know? Like to finally have something that you can pair and compare. So
yeah, we can talk about a more topical study, slightly easier to collect data on that. Lindley is currently running, colloquially called the Trashcangate study. Reference to a very low-key, potentially you guys might not have heard. The Astros are doing this thing with the trash can, but feel like give us the quick parameters on it, and then we can talk about how we came up with the study idea and what goes into it.
Yeah, so the Astros thing, they knew a pitch was coming, then they would hit a trash can, so they would give basically what we'd call an audible cue from the dugout so the hitter can hear it, and they listen for basically a bang on the trash can or no bang, to that effect, to determine or to like know which pitch is coming and what to expect. So we wanted to do a study in the gym to see what kind of effects the hitters would have. Or like what kind of effects knowing what pitch is coming is gonna have to the hitter's performance. And so we are testing it in short box, unfortunately, because we can't just live at bats are a little bit inaccessible for collecting data because there's just like a lack of repetition.
Yeah. By the way, fun side note: I spent an hour messaging Lindley about this while I was traveling in Morocco at around midnight local time for me. 3 p.m. local time for Lindley.
Yeah, got a hitting
just in the on the bottom floor of a really low budget hostel, like about three download Mbps.
Oh wow!
On speed test, it's
that's
like well, all this dude. I'm pretty sure the hostel owner might have been sleeping in the room. I was like, and he's like, "It's coming back and good." Like, yeah. Gotta talk to my boy Lindley about the Trashcangate.
Got a hitting trainer next to me, talking to. I'm like the middleman here, talking to Caravan through Slack, talking to Tanner, and they both have opposing like arguments.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Just like. Tanner was just
what
like,
Tanner
well, it's just like from
an
analyst perspective, we're like trying to get more samples. From a hitting trainer perspective in the gym, it's like we can't just get 400 batted balls from each hitter. That's just not attainable within like the time frame that we have hitters. So I was like, I got Tanner telling me that like that's not going to work, but he also wants like a minimum number of swings or a minimum number of like samples we need to get. And so I'm like hitting Caravan up. What do you think the minimum is here that we can still get enough statistical power? And he hits me back with a number that's not super reasonable for in the gym. And I have to tell the hitting trainer right here. And then he's like, dude. And then so I'm just like basically laughing at this point, going back and forth, and then basically just like find places to compromise on both sides.
We can talk about our setup though. Let's talk about our setup and like the way we're controlling for like pitcher talent and batter talent.
I actually got so rattled today when I went over to throw and lift on the training floor.
Containers, you want to hop in and throw.
And no, short box was going on, and I was like starting to throw, and then like out of nowhere, someone just started like beating the shit out of the trash can. You know, like I was like, what is he doing? And then I realized the Trashcangate was going on.
Yeah, it's a fun study. It's also really hard. I pitched in short box to the hitters, and it's impossible.
But you're not good though.
Yeah, blame it on Trashcangate.
Yeah.
It's an easy out for everyone in short box that gets lit up.
I can't fool anybody on my nasty curveball when they know it's coming. So some of the things that we did, we like. We kept it to 2 pitches, so we're only throwing fastballs and off speed. We're not controlling for what pitchers. That's a random effect. We're a random factor. We are randomizing, so like each day we're getting, I think we're setting it to 8 at bats now. So we're randomizing what order.
8, bro, you told me 10, dog.
It was 10 originally, but 10's like hard to get to in one day. So we're doing 8 original and then like randomizing, basically flipping a coin for like in pairs of 2 to make sure we get even samples of each after 8 in case they get more at bats than that. And then, so that way, so
sorry, just to make it clear for people, since it might not be super clear. So by randomize, you mean people come in with like a set order, right?
Yeah.
So like you'll run like a random number generator or whatever, and then someone has like 8 at bats, like set in stone, and then 4 will be banging on trash can, 4 will be no banging, and it'll be like, you know, like based on order, like 1, 5, 7, 8 are bangs. Like someone else will be like 1, like 2, 4, like 6, 8 will be bangs.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And the idea there is that if you randomize it, then you're basically like removing the effect of fatigue. So say if we were doing all of the bang conditions first, so they knew what was coming for the first few at bats.
And we're not talking about bang energy, just to be clear.
Yeah. And then the last 4 at bats for everybody was regular at bats. then we might have to worry about like, okay, well, is this difference between these two, like these 4 at bats? Is it due to the banging, or is it due to like pitcher fatigue, or is it due to how many times the hitter has seen this pitcher? So basically randomizing that order like tries to remove as many of those factors as possible.
And the reason we do have, so kind of they go a little bit into some research already out there, but both like Fangraphs and like Driveline, a couple other people have done a lot of research on what makes a certain like amount of data reliable.
Right. And
there's a couple ways to go about it. Like some stuff that's out there has to do with like measuring the Chromeback's alpha, which like not to bog it down too much, but generally once Chromeback's alpha is above 0.5, you sort of feel like the data is reliable. Like the whatever representation is in there, that's like a true indication of the metric. So then you can be like, take a snapshot of that and be like, okay, if you take, say, X amount of at-bats for this player, depending on what the sample size is from Chromeback's alpha, that's that player's true talent. So for example, to give you an idea of like what requires less sample size, usually someone's exit velocity will stabilize within like 50 to 70 batted balls. Someone's WOBA, on the other hand, can take like 400 batted balls.
Nice.
Or 400 like at-bats, you know. Or someone's like swing percentage can take like 40 to 50, you know. So it all kind of depends on you know, like the statistical robustness of these metrics. So like the reason I was giving like Lindley very high numbers was because like the idea was he was telling me he wanted performance indicators, where I'm thinking WOBA, as opposed to like certain, I mean, even though like, you know, stuff like exit velocity is a performance indicator, but like strictly speaking, WOBA is a more descriptive performance indicator. If we were talking like stuff like bat speed or like swing characteristics, those are in lower. Like we can kind of tell within a couple at bats what someone's like, you know, what a reliable metric of someone's bat speed or rotational acceleration or whatever is. But yeah, so like when it comes to WOBA, that's like takes a larger gap. So instead, what I'm doing and what I've told Lindley is, I've been, and I'm gonna give him some cold hard numbers pretty soon. Is I took everyone's like every like batter in the last couple of years in the SAC-S era MLB data, and did like segments of 40 or 50 at bats, random segments of the season. So I randomized the order of everything, and I'm measuring the WOBA in those segments, and then comparing from like segment to segment to get a kind of like a null hypothesis of what's like a general difference in those segments, and then what's like the variance. So we can then tell like, okay, if someone, you know, like it's obviously naturally someone's going to have probably slightly different WOBAs, even if they don't actually improve as a hitter or have more success. But what's that like standard, what's that set null hypothesis for a mean and the standard deviation around it. So then we can be like, oh, this player like falls way outside it. This actually might indicate that they're way, you know, they're hitting way better with the trash can banging.
Yeah. So like I got the hitting trainer here telling me he's more interested in like in-game performance indicators. And then so I relate that to Caravan. Caravan says, okay, well, that stabilizes way slower than these other things.
And I wrote way of a bunch of Y's.
Yeah, with a dude at the end. Yeah. And so so we're like have to compromise on a couple different things, but then we just like basically simplified it enough to where we think we can be confident in our results, and then make our be careful with our conclusions afterwards. So
I think that's a really good example of why research is just so hard, and like it's just not going to get done anywhere else outside of like us and schools and like maybe like really motivated. I don't know. But
truth seekers.
Like, even if you have like these really motivated like other organizations and facilities, like they're probably not going to go to the lengths that we're.
They don't have the subject availability
for sure. They definitely don't have the subject availability, but they also are probably not going to go to the lengths of like, you know, we're all just like so hypercritical with our like research backgrounds and trying to like build out the perfect study, tearing it down from the very get-go. That, you know, it just like is such a slow and tedious process.
Right.
But I mean, obviously it's valuable, and like no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
Where all the money is in baseball and all these like organizations, like anything they do is going to be internal.
Yeah, and they don't care about like what works for like the general population. They care about like winning games and whatever like the edge they can get.
Yeah. That's what like, facilities like us can step in and do things like that.
I wish we had more access to longitudinal subjects though. Throughout the season.
I mean, your boy's still free.
Dude, that's another thing though, to like kind of like go back to the Motus thing. Acquiring a company like that, I think, I guess from like the business side, gives us a big opportunity of like establishing ourselves as like getting really tied in with another serious company, which like takes us a step further in terms of like everyone's taking us a lot more seriously on like the enterprise side, which then opens the doors for more like enterprise level deals.
Shout out Tosh.
With like organizations, teams, whatever it is. And I think the huge unlock, like just from like thinking back on like winter meetings, ABCA, like talking to people in baseball, like all of the systems / like things that we're building out right now are really great for what we do, but applied in like a professional organization have unreal potential. Like there's so much more lucrative, right? Because like you're talking about all the data points that we have, we're simply tying that back to like a 6-week development plan, right? They get to take all of those data points that we're collecting and tie it to an entire organization of players that is playing every single day at 7:00. Right. Across like 8 different teams, like all of those performance outcomes are stuff that we're never going to have in gym. Like we can try to replicate the game and performance as much as we can in live at bats, but we're just like, we're not going to get as close to like a dude on the mound, a dude in the box, like game on the line, those kind of like, outside, not like raining, like those like actual statistical and like performance outcomes. And then like looping in all the things we're talking about, like Motus, Rapsodo, like all those like technology recordings with that is just like so much more potential there. Like even just on the college side, right? Like 25 guys,
pitch rush, baby,
and 3 games. 3 games every weekend, right? Like you've got. I just think there's like so much more potential there. It's another reason it's super exciting with the Motus stuff.
Yeah, so I guess moral of the story is we're going to use Motus for the Trashcangate study. Our main thing is going to be arm stress increased when you know an off-speed pitch is coming.
That'd be awesome. Like every time, see if there's like anything on the flip side on the pitchers. Like they just like freak out or get really anxious whenever they hear the trash can banging.
That is definitely a consideration. The as might be super obvious, we have much lower quality of pitchers than MLB pitchers during short box. Like we have this, we have this schmuck. We have this schmuck.
From 50 feet. I'm pretty elite, honestly. From
against me, bro. Now
yeah, I don't know, man. I got a good curveball. When they don't know what's coming.
I mean, how many weeks into Trashcangate are we?
This is the 3rd week. And we're trying to get
it on like 6 to 8 weeks.
2 times. Yeah, when we're trying to do 2 days a week if we can, but we just like don't have enough arms in the gym.
May or may not have a Eno Saris quote coming in about it. Did I tell you guys? Mm-hmm. Emailed me ask him about trash can. The same night or the night after.
He's been wearing a duo out about it too.
Really? Yeah, he emailed me about it when I was in Casablanca, and I saw it at a restaurant. And I was probably like a couple hours later, like, "Hey man, I'm actually in Morocco," but anyways, I was like, "Can reply to you in a couple hours when I have Wi-Fi again." But I'll get back to you. It's like, all right.
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. That'll be pretty tight.
Yeah. Another interesting party in there that wants to know about the results that we'll keep that a secret, but
Beltran's been hitting us up.
Conspiracies, dude. Yeah. Conspiracies.
Are there any other big research initiatives going on right now that we got going?
research initiatives. Biggest ones, honestly, right now, I think are Motus investigations, and then just like the ones that we've been running, so like the weighted ball ones and
Motus investigations and wrapping up everything from like that we started doing in 2019.
Yeah, maybe a couple in 2018.
One literally started in 2017.
Which one?
Weighted ball.
I mean, what about pull down? When did pull down studies start?
Yeah, 2018. Yeah, and we're still at 27. I gave Lindley the query to run it.
Damn. Yeah, research is slow.
I like the idea. I like that. We can't do it for any of our current studies because we can't change. It'd be like too much of a pain to change the like compensation documents. But I like the idea of like throwing in like a shaker or like maybe we can do a Snickers bar or something.
Yeah, and we also can't put like a poster in 2.4 because it's like it's not an approved recruitment document. So
yeah,
like should probably we'll like include that.
It's just like there's just like so many frustrating hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
We need.
Anyways, Motus, Trashcangate, big exciting things, and Driveline R&D.
Yeah, are all very relevant right now.
And on that point, I'm gonna go see what my brother's up to.
That is
no, dude, because we'll have cut that part out, dude.
Oh, that's good.
We'll have cut that part out.
I think that's good.
just to end it there.
Yeah.
But with these trailing lines, where it's like
clearly
it's a reference to something else.
We probably should have like written down and like
An outro.
had a more structured idea of how to approach the outro. Like
Smash the subscribe button.
probably not that,
Smash.
but just like I don't know. Maybe like ask people for questions, topics, stuff like that.
Yeah, so feel free to hit us up with any questions. At Alex Caravan. How do you spell your last name? Lynildee.
Lindsay.
He's getting really worried about the Twitter competition.
At BaseballFreak _9, at HockeyFreak _9, both run by the same man.
Lindsay.
See you later.